Okay, we're gonna get started now. Welcome to the Game Jam workshops. Are y'all excited to Game Jam this weekend? Yeah! Are all of y'all jamming in here? Everybody who's here jamming this weekend? Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Very excited. How many of y'all, is this your first Game Jam? Okay, awesome. I hope it's a good one for y'all. It'll be fun. You'll learn a lot of stuff. Okay, so if y'all don't know who we are, I am the Art Workshops Director. I'm Karina.
I'm Ryan. I'm your Unity guy. Coding, whatnot.
All right, so you probably already know, but we have a Game Jam this weekend. If you're not already in the Discord, make sure you are. That's where we'll have all the announcements during the jam. And you can talk to other jammers and your teammates and things like that. Kickoff is at 7 in this building in the auditorium. That's on the ground floor. And we'll have pizza there, so you can get some dinner right before you start jamming. Online or in person, we have rooms reserved throughout the GDC to use for you and your teammates to work on your game. Or you could just like go home and work through Discord and chill on your bed or something. And anyone of any skill level is welcome. All right, special thanks to our sponsors and some ways you can stay connected. Got our Discord, of course. If you're not already in like the main EGaDS Discord, make sure you are. And then socials and whatnot. And then if you haven't already, you should join EGaDS. You're under no obligation to join. You can continue attending all our events. But we appreciate it if you give us some money. You also get a cool t-shirt out of it, so that's really nice. And some exclusive access things to career fairs and LinkedIn groups and things like that. All right, and Ryan can, this is not the right slide, but Ryan can take it. Oh, okay. Yes, okay. Ryan can take it away.
So we're doing a game jam this weekend. Anyone excited about that? Yeah. So how do you guys think you're going to cooperatively code with other people if this doesn't give it away? Yeah. Okay. Has anyone not heard of GitHub in here? Okay. You guys are. I had no idea what GitHub was when I was in college, at least a year ago. No clue. But since then, I've done a lot of GitHub comments. I mean, they show up on all your profiles, lots of green companies like that. If you're interested in pursuing a career in programming, GitHub is like LinkedIn for programmers. So if you haven't made one yet, I'm going to guide you through how to make one today. Hopefully, have you guys all made GitHub accounts, or is there someone who's not here? Has anyone not made a GitHub account? I guess is the question. Okay, I see a couple. I'll go through it. It's not too long. And it's one of the best things you can do for yourself because GitHub is awesome. And I'm going to show you guys all how to get GitHub Pro as well. Do you guys know why GitHub Pro is useful? It is for cool people. It's good for Copilot. And look, as a programmer, it may be a little sussy to have something recommending you. It's like using Grammarly, but for coding. It's honestly one of the best tools because you're going to be making a lot of mistakes while programming. So this will help you out a lot. So, okay, let's go to github.com. Oh, that is laggy. Okay. And if you guys don't have GitHub accounts yet, you can kind of follow along and do it. If you do have GitHub accounts, just wait for the moment. We'll get into how to get GitHub Pro for free since you go to UT. Okay, so yeah, oh my God. This is actually the coolest thing on the GitHub website, this little globe right here. It shows you where people are commenting from. So you wanna click sign up, and the rest of it is pretty straightforward if you have a, okay, yeah. This is, you can do all of that, okay? What I wanna do is, okay, if you don't have a GitHub account, please make one, just go to the sign up. I wanna show you guys how to get GitHub Pro for free, okay? So who doesn't have GitHub Pro? Yeah, a lot of us. Here's how to get it for free, courtesy of UT. So UT will give you this. So education.github.com is the website you want to go to. So education.github.com. And you want to click the little button that says join global campus. And this is like their little program for free GitHub Pro. They also give you a bunch of other silly stuff like Bootstrap Studio, but who cares? Like Azure credits. I don't know if you guys are interested. Click sign up for a student developer pack. And then you want to click individuals, students right here. Free GitHub Pro while you're a student. Yay. That's what we want. These like get student benefits. Probably ask you to log in. Karina's GitHub account's already in there. Nice. So let's see if it works. I don't know if she has GitHub Pro yet.
I don't know.
No, I can get it for you. But yeah, so once you log into GitHub or whatever, it'll bring you to a little students benefits page. It'll ask you to provide verification. Okay. No. Okay. And so it'll give you this page. Now, let me know if I gotta like hold up a little bit. I know it's a little fast, but education.github.com, global campus, and here we're almost in GitHub Pro. This just will make your life a little easier. And plus you get a little pro badge on your profile, which looks pretty cool. But let me know when you guys are around at this page. Pretty close. Where are we at? Logging in probably. Yeah, this two-factor auth, whatnot. Are you guys still logging in or what?
You have to like verify a very certain email. So I have to like verify my CS email. Don't you remember my CS email?
Probably .cs.utexas.edu. So you can actually
Yeah,
special email.
have one for CS students, so you access the computers.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you.
It's still up. It's a liberal arts student.
Better major.
Technically, I could before my actual
I don't get back to you.
Okay. This is really like signing into GitHub, the quest. Okay, how do you guys all feel? Is everyone signed into GitHub or still working on that? Oh my God, that's fine. Screw this, I'm making a GitLab account.
my enrollment for
Bitbucket. Any GitLab or Bitbucket fans? I've never heard of them.
What? Yeah. I don't know why that is.
This is worth it, don't worry.
You have to further verify your students. I'm just going to send a picture of our RIS.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna go over that. Are you guys already doing that?
Yeah, we're all like the world.
Okay. Okay. All right, so is everyone on this page then, right? Where it's the education.github, it's asking you to put in your email and everything? Hopefully, yeah. Okay, so what is the name of your school? UT Austin. How do you plan to use GitHub? As a student, I want to do projects and stuff. Just put in whatever lies you can. So let's see. Okay, let me do it for Karina. UT Austin. Uh-oh, where is it?
It's by college. You can do fine arts.
Where are you? Fine Art, the Art Institute?
I just did.
I don't see fine arts.
You have to like type it in. Fine arts is like light and top, it's like type it in.
You have to put University of Texas Austin. You put UT Austin and you get this.
Okay. Austin.
It's
Okay.
weird.
So School of Fine Arts. Yay, Karina School. Yay. Okay. I plan to code and work on projects with my classmates. Maybe not. Okay. Okay. This is not the hard part of the request. Don't worry. Okay. You guys at least 13 years?
I don't know.
Oh. Hey, Karina, this is not one issued by your school?
You should receive an email from us
I
in
think
less than a
you
day.
have to select the email.
Oh, yeah. That's a little silly. Anyway, the easiest way, here, I'll just say, okay. I'm not gonna pull yours out, by the way. Okay. It's gonna ask you guys for verification that you go to UT. The easiest way is not the ID. If you guys are like taking pictures of your ID, it doesn't work with the UT ID. You have to do it with your tuition page. So wherever your tuition bill is, 6,000, 7,000 bucks or something crazy like that. Even more crazy if you're out of state. Just take a picture of that, and then you should be good. It's GitHub. It's owned by Microsoft, so you're pretty safe. Like saying, "Oh, I paid 6,000 bucks to be in UT."
Maybe they'll give me some extra financial aid.
Yeah.
It's like unofficial transcript.
I don't think they do transcripts. They just do. They said,
Yeah, it's a transcript.
"Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Ew.
You could do other. I just said, this is my registration.
Yeah, I just screenshotted my tuition page. They verified it within a minute. So, because they have a robot doing it. I plan to collaborate on coding projects with my classmates.
I don't know if this means I'm verified or not.
Proof. Oh, this is the hard part, Karina. I'm not doing this. Yeah, proof of your academic status. The easiest one to do, screenshot of school portal, like your Canvas page, super easy. Screenshot of your tuition bill, fastest way to do it. All this other crazy stuff, it's too much work. I don't even know what a BUSAR is. But, okay. Well, once you do it, they send you back an email within a minute.
Yeah, the UT schools don't update, so that's probably why. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Closing my stuff.
Which is nice in some ways, because it's forever.
Like you texted that you just student portal.
Has anyone got GitHub Pro yet? Anyone got it working?
I don't
Yeah.
know if I got verified or not.
Well, if it doesn't work within a minute, you should try
It
another
says
version.
welcome to GitHub Global.
You got it. You got it, bro. No, that's it.
Current student. Click on current student.
Is that where you want to end up?
What I don't know. Oh, yeah.
So I'm talking about. Okay. I'll give it like a couple more. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Are you doing it on your iPad?
Hey, yo, you need to verify me.
Okay. Are you verified?
This is my registration.
Redhead.
Fall of 2022. Let's go.
Did you click it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to like screenshot it.
If you need student sales confirmed.
I'm excited to so it has to be a specific college.
No, you're technically a liberal arts. Yeah. You did college in that?
I didn't know. So I just did the I've been university in Texas. Or just type it in. I was like, but I gotta play a lot. We tried to yeah. Maybe by then. No, because they don't. They just use a single. So they just use one of these. Should I just use the email that I have?
Yeah, the email doesn't matter. I use my regular email. It just tells you like. Okay, then just use your school email. Oh wait, did I use it? I might have actually. It's weird. If you don't get like, if you don't get through any of the steps, I've been having to type stupid deal with it. Yeah, I was going to say, what do you call that?
But on my home page, right now.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's 4 terabytes.
Okay, let me ask you, do you think it's worth it? Okay, go to your Texas ID.
No, I got you. I could probably use this.
Use your RIS sheet, remember? Current students. Then under academics, choose your registration information sheet. Registration information sheet. Wait, no.
I can just use this thing.
GitHub or you're on home.
I mean, I fortunately.
Why did I do this to myself? I think I fucked up. I think I fucked up the student license. I don't know how I would mess it up. Oh, get a license. You want me to make it 2010?
Yeah, you guys
Chill, you're gonna break them out. Yeah, you see, you already got it.
They just like straight up give it to you immediately. Maybe you go to
Hey, yo, I got a professional license somehow. I feel special. Pro, professional, activation.
GitHub Pro, bro. Okay, it looks like a lot of the people in this room have gotten GitHub Pro. So thank you, UT, for all your monies and whatnot. Okay, so why did we do that? Why did we get GitHub Pro? Does anyone know why? Copilot, right? Okay, so you want to just head over to Visual Studio Code. I hope you guys have installed that since last time. If you haven't, you can just go to Visual Studio Code, search it up. It's the best code client you guys can use. I know some use like Atom or Notepad or Google Docs. Just use Visual Studio Code. You don't need to be using all that stuff.
Google Docs?
Yeah, you'd be surprised what people do code on. I heard in the CS classes they make you write it on sheets of paper.
Okay.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So yeah, so go download Visual Studio Code. Beautiful, beautiful code thing. And what Visual Studio Code has are something called extensions, which help you out with all your coding with Java and Python and everything else. What we want to do is grab their Copilot extension. So I hope Karina has it installed. Otherwise,
You can show them how to. Oh, wait,
I'll show you.
I have code.
Yeah, code is a good one. Okay.
Assume it is GitHub Copilot version 1.46.6822 and not.
Okay. So.
What's the version of the other one? Oh, nightly.
Okay.
Wait. Is that dark mode Copilot?
I don't know.
Okay. So once you guys got Visual Studio Code, this is where all the code stuff is happening for the Unity workshop. So hopefully you guys are interested in coding because this is the code home. And you see in the left side here, we have these 5 little buttons. You really only want to pay attention to the first 2, which is the search button right here and the files button. These other buttons are like GitHub like integration, but I'm not a person that uses that. Maybe some people use it. Okay, well, GitHub integration with Visual Studio Code is kind of iffy. I'll just say that. I like using GitHub Desktop, which I'll get into. It's just an easier way to do things. But this button right here, the 5th button down, looks like a couple blocks. Click that. And extensions, yay. Type in Copilot. And That is the best thing. This is
So the
actually,
first one or the second?
oh my God, anyone. I think the first one will probably be better. Because the second one might give you some awful suggestions, knowing like how nightly builds work. It's just being like rare. I don't know. But so just get the first one. If you click install, it'll ask you to log into your GitHub account right away. And since you guys have GitHub Pro now, it should work for you.
Enable Copilot first, so,
It's in the bottom right. But,
well, I just-
okay, awesome. Okay. And so GitHub Copilot should show up in the bottom right. It looks like a little aviator wearing glasses right down here. And it's just going to basically help you with all your coding. I know it helps me a lot. And like I've been coding for a while. So, and I'm sure it helps out other programmers in the room who've coded for a while. So it'll definitely help out someone who's never coded before. So that's you. So yeah, there's Copilot. Let me know when you guys have it installed. It's the best thing ever.
Right, allow for the block suggestions, mention public code.
Just allow, yeah, always, you should probably allow the suggestions for public code. That makes your it a little bit more useful. Of course, there's a little ethical concern there, but okay. Okay, so that's GitHub Copilot. And if you guys, what you can do if you want to start trying it out is you can go to Explorer or just make a new file.
You need C++.
No, it works for any language.
Well, I mean, for Unity.
Oh, no, C#.
Oh, yeah.
It's different. Okay, but so I don't have Copilot installed, but something you could do for Copilot installed is if you were to type a comment like write me a movement script in Unity. This will actually, if you had Copilot installed, again, it looks like an aviator down the bottom right. If you have Copilot installed, it would literally start writing you a movement script, and you never have to go Google for anything at all. And the reason that's useful is because it's like copy pasting code, but sometimes it's wrong, so you still have to fix it sometimes. So there's a little bit of an edge there.
It's like,
It might be bad code, yeah. It might be bad suggestions like Oxford commas and whatnot. But for most of the time, this will help you out a lot when you're coding. You say, oh, write me a for loop that iterates from 0 to 200. And you're like, oh, how do I do that? Well, just make it write it. Just write a comments. Also helps you if you're already writing a for loop, it will complete it for you. And so like you just press tab to auto complete everything. I mean, UT has made it free for us. But anyway, okay. Okay, so that's the GitHub Pro Copilot side of things. I want to show you guys the other tool you'll be using for the game jam. Okay. Okay, so that's like on the software side of things. You guys know how you'll be publishing your games for the game jam?
Do what?
How will you publish your games for the game jam?
No.
itch.io. Does everyone have itch.io accounts?
Yeah.
Really? No.
I didn't even.
Not everyone.
I've downloaded so many free games from there. Also, my school didn't block it, so I got to play games off of it.
Okay. So the game jam on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Itch.io is the home indie game place that we'll be using. Oh, wow. Wow. Karina's account on itch.io. You can see how far art gets you when you're making games. Wow, her games look insane. Okay, but yeah, this is basically what you want to do. You want to get it. Itch.io. Yeah, and make an account on itch.io, and that's literally all you need to do for right now. When we get to it, during the game jam, you'll be publishing projects to itch.io. So the way you do that, so at the top right, it'll say something silly like upload new project, yay. And then you'll basically, for your game jam game, title, my cool game jam game, project URL, it makes one for you, don't worry about that. And you can describe it all you want and add your cool Karina pictures if you saw all of hers. The kind of project you'll be making depends on what you're doing in Unity. You can make it downloadable and whatnot. I'll get into Unity export options later, but downloadable HTML Flash, nobody uses Flash anymore instead. And hopefully you're not using Java or Unity less than 5.3. Okay. And then you always make your thing no payments unless you're sus. Okay. Yeah. And then that's, I mean, itch.io is self-explanatory. It's like publishing. And then it should appear on your profile. Super nice. Woo! Oh, like, oh, Karina, you made this one over the summer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a game like that Karina made over the summer. You can see how nice and professional you can make these, like how to play with like a little bear next to it. If you guys get anywhere near this level of quality that Karina's done here, I will be so proud of you. She had like 20 people on her team. Look at this.
It was also a fun game too.
Oh my God.
Different circumstances.
Yeah, but this is amazing. Made in Unity, month long, right? And then you can change anything about it right up there. Okay. I want to do Unity. My thing's not connecting to the internet. Okay. Okay. So. Yeah, Karina, do you still have Unity installed?
I do have Unity installed.
My laptop is being evil.
Never again. But yeah, if you open up the project from last week, it should open faster.
My thing is just refusing to connect to the internet. It's wild. Okay. Whoa. 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 Animation workshop. Okay. Wow, that is. Okay, so that covers GitHub Copilot and itch.io, two most important tools you'll probably ever use as a game programmer, the games on one side and the code on the other. I want to get into Unity and how you actually export your games in Unity. This is for the for the workshop. It's still loading on Karina's laptop, but you guys have much idea about Unity exporting games at all yet? Anything like that? Has anyone exported a game using Unity, I guess, as a benchmark? Yeah, okay. A couple of you, right? Exporting games is one of the best things you'll do, because if you don't do it, it means you have failed, and that the last hours or projects that you've worked on have been for nothing. Like, why would you work on something for so long and never finish it? So rule number one, always finish your game. I do not care how bad it is. Finish it, put it out there, because if it's somewhere, you'll be happy and you haven't wasted your time for nothing. As for actually exporting our game to Unity, you got to wait for Unity to open up. You guys don't need to open up Unity if you don't want to. This is mainly just a tutorial on how to open or export things on Unity. It's kind of similar to Photoshop. I could probably open up Photoshop and get the same idea. But okay, so let me show you guys this. Okay, so awesome scene that Karina has for us. No, do not need the new. Okay, so where do you guys think the export options are in Unity? Top left. Wow, somebody's used Photoshop, right? Okay, and you see this build settings and build and run. Now, I personally stay well away from build and run because it is so sus. Just running something right away. Build settings is the one you want because it actually gives you all the options, and you're like, oh, I want this to be for 32-bit because I am like 60 years old. Target platform, Windows. If you have other things installed, you can search up Linux build pack Unity or Mac build pack Unity. It will let you do it for Mac and Linux. And also see all the way over here on the left side, it lets us do Android, iOS, PS4, WebGL, a lot of weird things, right? There's even, I think Xbox used to be on this list. I do not know where they went. Yeah, Noah.
It's worth mentioning that for the game jam, if you do a web build, then you're good. But if you don't do a web build, we expect a Windows and a Mac because we can't guarantee which our judges will use. So at least take some put some thought into which builds you do. You can do all three or even more than that, but at least have a web build or at least have Windows and Mac.
Yeah, so your Windows, Mac builds are gonna be up here. You can choose which one you want to build for. Your web build is over here. Web builds are actually pretty awesome because people can play them right in their browser. The thing is, if you're using a bunch of like 3D assets, hopefully you're not, but if you are, web builds are going to be terrible for you, and it's going to be breaking, and you're going to see like purple stuff everywhere. So if you're not doing a 2D game, stay well away from the web build, okay? But since you guys hopefully are just staying simple for the game jam, I'm not sure what the theme will be yet, but probably something 2D related. Tries to stay away from WebGL. If you're doing 3D games, it's going to break you so much and you're going to be debugging. Okay, but so that's how to export things in Unity. Pretty easy. So how do you guys feel about the Unity editor? Any concerns about it? The evil? No? This wasn't confusing at all? Okay, someone tell me what all these options are. Remember, we went over it last time, but maybe. Hierarchy, right? Top left, right? What's at the bottom? What is this? Assets, okay. So like if we were to drag in a picture into our game, just throw it on there, where would it go? Yeah, it goes down here, it just makes itself. Hopefully you're organizing all of that stuff, especially during the game jam, because it's going to be hell. If you don't have it organized and your teammates are going to be looking at you like, you put the sound file in the images folder, what is he doing? But so, I mean, Unity is not too hard to use. Hopefully you guys got 3D objects, 2D objects. But what I want to go over is like, while we're making a game in Unity, right? And you do all these cool stuff, how do you actually save it and publish it to GitHub, or kind of publish it privately to work on with your friends? So I just added a couple new things to this scene right here, and want to click save, because what I'm going to do is, what we can do is we can actually put this project inside of GitHub. Now you might have noticed like Unity has some weird integration with like something called plastic SCM. Yeah, those words should be nothing to you because plastic is like, it's like GitHub on steroids, okay? Do not pay attention to that. But they have like weird stuff. If you ever go to the top right, it says something like plastic on some versions of Unity. We want to use GitHub. So I need you guys to go install GitHub Desktop if you haven't already. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it makes our lives so much easier. Does anyone use GitHub command line? I hope not. The GitHub command line is just straight up, just if you just want to show off just for other people, that's why you use GitHub command line. Because you know how to, like, I don't know, do terminal commands like a programmer or a hacker. Okay, but so yeah, just go to desktop.github.com, download that, and then over here we have GitHub Desktop. Yay! Wow. Let me make it smaller. Okay. Now this will be pretty empty for you since we don't have anything. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add our Unity project to it. So hopefully you guys remember where you saved your Unity project. Because what we're going to do is you want to click File. What I like to do is I like to just make a new repository and then move all my Unity projects into the GitHub folder. I find that easiest. But for you guys, you might want to do like add local repository, which is super weird. Like navigate to your Unity project and then say create project here. That just two confusing ways of doing the exact same thing. If I were you, preferably you want to keep all your Unity projects like in your GitHub folder. It's just easiest to think about because otherwise you're going off to like your C drive, my Unity projects folder, and then finding your Unity projects. I like to keep it all in one place. But okay, so here's the easiest way to do that. So up in the top left of GitHub Desktop, File, New Repository, My Game Jam game. Keep in mind this will be public on your profile. So, or if you don't change, it's very hard to change the name without like messing up some things. So try to name it something like very professional that you would be fine with having your name literally next to it because that's how it is on GitHub. And if you don't make it private, it will literally be next to your name. So you see her local path here is documents GitHub. That's the best local path, okay? It keeps everything where you know it is in the GitHub folder. If you don't choose there, you're gonna be confused as to where you put everything. I made that mistake so many times. Okay, so the gitty ignore file, you guys, what is a gitty ignore? You guys have any experience with that? No. What does that mean? Okay. Git ignore. It's just telling Git to ignore all the files. And why would we want Git to ignore files within our Unity project? Yeah, because some of the Unity projects are just friggin' gigantic. And we're talking about like 60 gigabyte projects. But the thing is, you think you're coding 60 gigabytes worth of code? No. Yeah, it's just silly little assets and like builds that you have. And so we can actually, what you want to be doing is you want to set this gitignore file to Unity, or not visuals. If you set gitignore to Unity, it's going to ignore all your build folders and your Unity like build files. Basically makes your 20 gigabyte project like literally like 20 megabytes. Because Unity does some weird stuff in the background. Your license, if you guys really care about licenses, says make sure nobody steals your work. For our purposes and other purposes, you should probably stay under MIT if you're cool. Everyone can use my work, yay. But if you're concerned that like maybe you're using assets that aren't allowed to be shared, probably shouldn't publish on the GitHub first off. But if you're using assets that might want to be attributed to you, like oh, Karina has custom art, people should credit me for that art, right? She might want to use GNU GPL. Or actually, no, that's okay. Well, some of these are attribution licenses, and you can see like usually it means anything like GPL in it usually means they have to attribute you, and so they have to say, oh, I took this code from Karina, I stole these images from her. If they were to copy your code anywhere else. So yeah. I don't think you guys care much about licenses though. That's a whole little thing. So just create an empty repo. And then the easiest way I can think about doing this is just to move your Unity project folder into here. That's how I do it. You guys might not want to do it that way. But so over in your Unity project thing, right over here, it actually tells you so the path to all of her projects. Wow, she already had it in her GitHub folder. Solid, Karina, that's solid. You already had it as a GitHub project. Okay. But so like we just made one called My Game Jam, right? And so what we want to do is we'd want to see where the path is on our GitHub desktop. And so if we bring up GitHub desktop, we're like, okay, so this is the path of my project. And we can say show and explore if we right click. And okay. And then we want to say copy. So we just want to copy the entire project, or we can move it, whichever you guys want to do. 1.2 gigabytes, Jesus. Okay. But you want to copy it inside of My Game Jam, which is the GitHub folder, right? And the instant you do that, you're going to see probably a very, very big loading thing if your project is big enough. So hopefully, like you're moving stuff is the easiest way to do it. Wow, it's not even moving anything. But what I want you guys to see is that what happens on GitHub desktop. Oh my God, Karina, you have the international keyboard or something. You have function on the left side. Okay. Okay. So yeah, if you paste things in with Control V, not function V. Yeah, wow. But the cool thing about this is you can ignore that. What you really want to be interested in is what's happening on the GitHub desktop side of things. And it's actually telling you everything that it's doing. And it's saying, oh, you have all these assets I'm putting on GitHub for you. So anyone that goes to the GitHub page will literally see all these assets. And so this is how you will start collaborating with your friends. Is once it downloads everything, I forgot to put a gitignore in this file, so it's GitHub's going to see everything. But you can do that after the fact as well. Actually, no, I think your gitignore is fine. So, and what you want to do after that is you want to make sure you're always opening up your project from the GitHub version. Because if you're opening up some local version that's not linked to your GitHub, you're going to be making changes that never go anywhere. That'll be a little silly. But every single time you save your project now, the changes will literally show up on your GitHub desktop. And so every single change you make, you press Control S in your Unity browser. Control S, yeah, and then you don't see like a little dot usually up in the top. It shows you that it's not saved, or usually a dot right next to sample scene. Like here, let me just show you an example of that. This is the easiest way to check. If I say create empty, you see how there's a little asterisk next to sample scene? That means it hasn't been saved. So hit Control S, it saves everything, and then GitHub Desktop shows you all the changes you've made. And so you just want to push to GitHub. And this is how you will work collaboratively with your friends, because you'll push And the instant you push your friends on all their desktop clients, they'll get a little thing that says pull, and they'll be able to pull in their changes. And if you guys were working in separate files, which hopefully you do, because working in the same file is a little bit of a hazard with GitHub. If you were working in separate files, it lets you merge all your changes together. Like if your friend was adding pictures and you were making the movement script, right? And you can pull them together and you can literally start having the same project. I don't know if I want to, let me see if I can privately. Can I privately? Yeah. And so just private, make sure it doesn't say public or anything like that. And for the sake of your guys' game jams, you can probably keep it private unless you just want to show off, like maybe some employers somewhat look at your code. That's if you're ever applying for jobs. You want to make sure your best code's on your GitHub. Okay, and so you see this thing that says fetch origin. Now, if Karina had done something on the remote, which is what everyone calls the cloud or where GitHub has our stuff, it would say, there's a new thing to pull in, and we would say fetch, and it would fetch all the changes that our friends have made. So the easiest way to show you guys this is you can just go to github.com. Hopefully Karina's logged in. Okay, hopefully there's no private repositories somewhere. I just want to go to my game jam. Whoops, oh, here it is. Actually, my game jam, there it is. Okay, awesome. So this is what it looks like on the website. I told you your name will be right next to it. So make sure you have a good title. Issues, pull requests, you guys don't really need to know anything about that. It's not really important, but for us. But imagine your friend were to go in and he were to like say, okay, well, I'm going to change one of these files. And he just changes some random file. So you can do this from GitHub Web if you want. Some people do GitHub Web, not really sure. But imagine he just changes one of these files and he goes and he comments it. And this is how GitHub works. Everything works in comments, which as you can see, my game jam, and you get a comment history. It shows you all the changes that everyone has ever made. And so you can say initial comment, so publishing, update, get ignore is what I just did. I just edited some text in it. And so if your friends was like adding images on GitHub desktop, it lets you say what you're doing in the bottom left. So if you see, oh my God, it's gigantic. I don't know why the resolution's so weird. Okay. So in the bottom left, you can see Karina can say, oh, I added assets or anything like that. And you can say whatever you want in your comment message. Just know whatever is in your comment message will be viewable by all your friends here if it's private, by the entire internet if it's public. So make sure you be very professional about what you say in these comment messages. Yeah, and then so I just updated something on the remote, right? Something that wasn't on our local branch because I just did it on the web browser. So if I say fetch origin right here, it's going to get it right away. It says pull origin. And if there's any bad stuff, like if someone has changed the same file as I have, it will give me a bunch of errors right now. But I don't believe I've changed any of the same files as anyone else. So if we say pull origin, it pulls in everything. And now we have the version of the project, but with this little gitignore file here. And this is one of the most coolest things you can do is GitHub will show you the changes that have happened everywhere. So if you click on any one of these comments, it shows you that green has added 2 files and it shows you all the green and red text. If you go to code, it's a lot useful for code. It'll show you like all the functions you deleted and added. Update, get ignore, it'll show you that I've deleted a line right there. And so yeah, that's GitHub for you. I think GitHub's pretty base. So have you guys set up your projects with GitHub, or are we following along at all? Probably not. But anyway, so GitHub is what you guys will be using. Make sure to be super sensitive if you plan to make it public at any point in the future. And pushing and pulling down is what you're going to be doing with your friends. So make a change, save it to your GitHub, and then you want to comment it as soon as you change it. So your friend's not asking you, where are those changes at? And so you say comment, you wait, and you say push. And then when your friend goes and changes something, they pull in everything, all the changes you've made, they work on them, and they push it again. And hopefully you guys have like a little process that, because if you guys ever like work on the same movement script, say, something silly, like, okay, let's pretend that maybe we're writing some code here, like public void start. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, this is some sample Unity code. So can you guys tell me what would happen if I just wrote this, right? And I pushed it off to the web. And then my friend goes in and he edits this but he hasn't pulled in my changes yet. What would happen? Do you guys know? A merge conflict is what it's called. And basically GitHub is going to start screaming at you. And it's going to say, your friend wants to put hi in that box. And you said, hey, what do we do? And it makes you choose between whether to put hi or hey. The thing is, that's not usually a problem if it happens like once or twice. It can happen for thousands of lines if you and your friend are like editing the same file horrendously. So make sure you have like separate sections of the project you're working on, hopefully. Because, yeah.
Does this apply to Unity scenes? Are they easy to handle?
Oh no, Unity scenes are evil. What will happen in Unity is that when you're saving up a little scene like this, and say we just added like, I don't know, my pet dog to the scene, and I save it and I send it off. Well, my friend has really worked hard and he's made the entire doghouse on his end. Can we just put the pet dog and the doghouse easily together? You wish. No, but the Unity is actually going to start screaming at you, and it's going to tell you that the .scene files, because it's actually a file, if you guys ever look in the project, these are actually files, like little binary code. We'll say the .unity file down here, your friend has a conflict because he has a different .unity file. That's bad. And so try to not work in separate scenes, let alone the same code file. If you do work in the same code file, work on very distant lines or different functions, because the instant you touch each other's code, that is like you're blowing out like power circuits. It's not good for you. Yeah.
Hey Ryan, one more question.
Yes, sir.
If we do have a merge conflict, can we complain about it in the Discord anywhere? Yes, we can. GitHub questions channel in the Texas Game Jam Discord. Sorry, I just realized you might not have.
Yeah, I do not know. The Discord has like 20,000 channels in it, but like there's one for everything at this point. And so, yeah, we'll also have help during the Texas Game Jam. We have helpers along with judges. So you can get someone to help you out if you need help with GitHub or anything like that. Or you can ask a friend. Hopefully you guys have someone in the friend group or the Game Jam group that knows. But yeah, anyone have any questions? I know I went over a lot. Yeah.
Is there a way to like configure Unity with Git directly?
So all the things I've seen to configure Unity with Git are like pretty like weird plugins that you put on top of Unity. Git. So actually Unity is a competitor to GitHub, which is why it's not very good. And so they emphasize that you use their tool called Plastic SCM, which is made for gigantic games. And Plastic can handle gigabytes of files at a single time. It's made for like if Karina has like done like 20,000 art presentations and she has them on a Unity project or art assets. And so they have Plastic SCM, which is their competitor to GitHub. So off the bat, I do not know if Unity has a GitHub integration. I wouldn't use it if they did, because it would make it intentionally bad because they want to advertise their own product. Yeah, but I found GitHub Desktop just, making your changes, always make sure to Control S on all your files. If you ever see a dot next to any file in your scene, right? If we make anything like make any change to our scene, a dot will appear next to sample scene. Make any change in your code file, and the dot will appear at the very, very top. Make sure all those dots you get rid of, because that means everything's saved. And the instant you get rid of those dots, you're ready to push your changes, push them upstream, and your friends can pull them down, and you guys can start working together and following along. Yeah, that's basically all I have in terms of GitHub Pro, Unity Desktop, and everything. We will have help during the Game Jam if you guys need help, like getting ideas for your games or making games. I think I'll certainly be around to help. I think Noah will too. Yeah, but yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, and that'll be it for now. Let's get some art. Ah. Right, you guys just got like $100 worth of GitHub Pro. There's one thing that came out of here.
Okay, before I get started, I'm gonna get hydrated, so I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
And then also the repository. No, just show him. Just show him. Just show him.
You guys just have great names.
I added.
Look at what he added. He added 3 Star Wars movie scripts.
Why not?
You gotta be careful because it's very, very hard. If you ever make it public, bro, all the employers.
We can just delete it.
Yeah, okay. It's like so hard to change the comment history. Just warning you, like all those things are lost.
If we ever make it public, we'll make a movie with
Scandal.
We can just copy all the files over that we want. Paste them into the correct files.
Yo, Ian, hello.
I don't know if we should be.
So, no, I just copied. I went online, looked up the said script, and then copy and pasted it. Look, you see, look, the entire script, all 4,000 lines of it.
I think that probably has some copyright.
I'm deleting it.
No, not yet.
No,
That's the worst thing for everything. You also have to be in the comment message. Delete the time.
No.
There's copyright.
Why would you delete Attack of the Clones? No.
I'm deleting all of them. You better not read it. Are you sending me?
Yeah.
Cat?
My laptop
No,
is not
Cat.
connected to the internet.
Oh no.
I know, like, I'm gonna come 20 minutes early.
I'm removing you.
Like that.
I'm removing
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I've been coming pretty early because I just want to make sure we've got somebody in the room.
It still shows.
No, no. How do I make it so you can only edit? I mean, so you can only view? It has to be like.
No. I won't. I won't do it.
Delete them. Delete them. And then removing the simulations.
Yeah, but that's now it's on. I mean, like, you probably
Wait, no. Going wrong. You're gonna kill the rope.
Alrighty, let's get started with the art side of the workshop. How many of y'all are artists? Okay, just a handful, but that's okay. It is for y'all. And hopefully all you programmers or other disciplines can get something out of this. I'm gonna talk about the Game Jam pipeline for art and talk a little bit briefly about importing art into Unity. And then some general tips here and there. So this is like a kind of brief overview of what you might do as an artist throughout the Game Jam. So start off with brainstorming with your team. You'll create an asset list, white box, make the art, format the files, get the assets in the game, and then you'll be done, hopefully. And I'll go into further detail with these. I made this handy dandy little table that's kind of like a summary of my experience doing game jams. And this is kind of how you might want to pace yourself during the jam. Other people can give their input based on their experience doing game jams, but this is what I found works for me. Basically, we'll have kickoff at 7. This is when you'll find out the theme for the game jam. You'll meet with your team. And that night, you want to brainstorm. Settle on a game idea. Don't let that carry over to the next day or else you'll be stressed. Too much work for the rest of the weekend. So Friday night, have a game idea. Have concept art. You can doodle while you're like in your brainstorm team meeting. Even if it's like a little like rough like napkin sketch, like as long as you have like an idea of what your game looks like, that is very nice to have. And you'll want to start on an asset list that night too. Sort of give you an idea of all the work that you need to do in the next 48 hours. On Saturday, you want to have a prototype done around midday. That'd be pretty cool. So for you programmers, you have something working in the game engine. For artists, if you're doing like a platformer or something, you want to have like a player, the main player character idle done, and maybe like 1 or 2 animations. So like a running animation or like a jump animation. Or if you're not doing a platformer, you have like main game art done. So like your very high priority stuff. And then this is like very ideal, but end of Saturday night, you want to have like final game almost done, basically. This will give you enough time on Sunday to polish up your game. If there's any bugs, you can fix it up. If all of a sudden your repo like crashes and it like breaks everything, then you can have Sunday to fix that up, right? So that's when you'll get all the other art done. You want to have your art finished ideally on Saturday so that Sunday your programmer or you or whoever's implementing the art into the game can get that art into the final product. So it doesn't help too much if you like finish your art assets on like 10 minutes before the game is due, but it doesn't actually get into the game. So just keep implementation in mind. Right. Oh, and then if you have time on Sunday, it's always nice to make your itch page look pretty. It's like a final step, like a final stretch. Like not everybody does it, but it's always nice to click on an itch page that has like content on it and has like maybe a colored background or screenshots instead of just like a white page and like a downloadable. All right, and then just like another general tip is to set mini goals or deadlines with your team, so you stay on track throughout the jam. Just like understand that 48 hours is not a lot of time to make a game, so stay on track for that. So we start off with brainstorming after kickoff, right? So in my experience doing like online game jams, I really like using Miro, which is like a whiteboarding website tool. There's other things like Miro. You can do it in Google Docs or Google Slides, or if you're in person, you can do it on a physical whiteboard. There's whiteboards all around the GDC. You can do it on paper, or if you're just on a Discord call, you can just like send images and messages. But brainstorming is a time to just like get all your ideas out there. No idea is a bad idea. And you can discuss with your team what works and what doesn't based on the theme. And you can have like silly little doodles while you have these conversations that will feed into the final game. You can also have a mood board, which is really helpful if you're working with multiple artists. So you can kind of have like the same vision for your game. So things like color palettes and art styles and things like that. Okay, so once you have brainstormed, you want to create an asset list. And your asset list will be sort of built around what your MVP is. Does anybody, without looking at the slide, know what an MVP is? Yes, but also no. In the context of game dev, MVP is your minimum viable product. So what is like the absolute minimum necessary that you need to make your game your game? So basically anything after that, you can call it your stretch goal, because 48 hours again is not a lot of time. So giving your like assets priority levels is pretty important, and make sure it aligns with the rest of your team's stretch goals. So if you say, my stretch goal as an artist is to have like a second player with animations and all that, if your programmer is not like on the same table with you and it's like, I can't program a second player, that's not going to get into the game. So communicate with your team, that's important. So this is what a really fancy asset list might look like in Google Docs or Google Sheets. I have a template there if you want to use it. And I'll be posting these slides in the Discord. But you can see we've got like a description of the asset. We've got the type, so we've got it's color coded, so we've got like art, audio, music, programming, UI, etc. The status, so we have a to do. There's none on this page, but like working on, done. And then you've got your priority, and you can assign it to different people and put different notes on it. Your asset list does not need to look like this. It could be as simple as art, do this, music, do this, sounds, do this. As long as people know what they're working on, that is awesome, because you don't ever want to run into the situation where you have 2 audio people on your team and somebody's working on the title screen music and the other audio person is also working on the title screen music, and you're just gonna have to scrap somebody's work. So communication, yes. You can also use Trello. It's pretty neat. You can have like tags for whatever discipline. You can assign people to different tasks. And you can also do things like have a tag for if it's implemented into the game. Okay, if you're working with another artist, this is also the time to determine who does what. Something that you always have to consider is that people have different art styles. So it's best to split up the artwork so that your art styles don't have any chance of clashing. So I have like some like pseudo teams of multiple artists to like show how you could break up these roles. So in a 2-artist team, you've got one person doing character art and animation, and the other artist does everything else. And on the 3-artist team, it's character art, animation, artist 2 does background art, and artist 3 does UI and title screen art. You might notice that for both of these situations, I have one person doing the character art and animation, and that's because it's really hard to have 2 people work on one character and do the animations, make the character look what's called on model and basically look the same. Ideally, you want one person to do like the character art, and that includes enemies too. Unless your game has like a huge amount of enemies and players and things like that and characters. In that case, if your artist feels overwhelmed, you can split by character to different artists. So artist 1 will do character A, artist 2 will do character B, things like that, right? Just keep in mind that characters might look slightly different depending on who drew it, unless your artists are really talented and can like match styles really well, which is really cool if you can do that. That's not easy. Okay, so after you have made your asset list and you've divided and conquered the art roles, I always suggest whiteboxing. Has anybody here heard of whiteboxing? Yeah. So whiteboxing is basically, you can also hear it as a gray boxing or blocking out, but basically it's used mostly in level design. So you block out a level or white box a level to play test it. You can get a feel for how like platforming works and things like that. Can a player make this jump? But I like to use it for art so that you can sort of determine the scale of your art assets in relation to one another. So this is pretty important if you're doing like lined artwork, so that your line thicknesses are the same throughout the game. Or if you're doing pixel art, make sure like your pixel resolution is the same, so you don't have like something that's like highly detailed pixel art and something that's like 8-bit pixel art, like 16 by 16 pixels, right? So if you were here last week, you might remember this white box that turned into this. So you can see the background sort of follows this like playable area that's the blue box, right? That informed the background art, and same with the size of the little characters on screen are the same as like that black square. So in a 3D game, it might look like this. So that's why it's called like white boxing or gray boxing. And so this is like, you can see it's like, this is more for like level design, but like a 3D artist would take these gray boxed assets, and as they create the 3D buildings and things like that, they would slowly replace these white box buildings with their original art. All right, so this is an example of white boxing that I did for a grid-based puzzle game. So it was very important that all the items sort of fit in these relatively sized, these boxes relative to their size. So I was given these like white box shapes. And so I took these like white boxes, brought it into my art program of choice. I did not upscale it. I did not like transform, like make it bigger or anything. I kept it the same size so that when I import it into Unity, replace these like white squares later on down the line, it doesn't like show up in Unity as like a gigantic asset. It just like fits the same size, if that makes any sense. So there should be a video. Okay, there's a video. So this is what it might look like in game throughout the process of your game jam. So you can see in Unity, these like white boxes are like in game. You can like move them around, and then later on, I replace them with the final art that you saw previously, right? So it also helps the programmer because the programmer has like these temporary assets to use while they debug and test the game, to sort of give them like a visual of how things work. Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah, I think we've got some time. Okay, so let me open up my, where's my mouse? Okay, so we've got paint tools right here. Let's make a new canvas. Usually you want to make stuff 1920 by 1080 because that's the resolution of most like screens, most laptop screens, right? Computer screens too. So your white boxes don't actually have to be white. You can make them pretty colors. I'm gonna make this one yellow because I like yellow. So if we're making like, let's say a platformer, you can have like, all right, our player will be relative to the size on the screen. They will be this big. So this will kind of give you an idea of like where the camera is situated, how big the player will look to the, how the player character asset will look to the actual player of the game, right? If you've got like floating blocks, right, you can determine their size. Let me make a new layer for this. So, okay. And then, so you can give this to, for example, your level designer, and they can be like, I can play around with these floating block assets that you will make later on down the line, and design our levels based off of that. So things like that. So if you're working with multiple artists, this is pretty nice because you can take this like art, like this art file, right? Send them the PSD, which is pretty universal across art, like drawing programs. And then they can take this and they'll take their little, for example, you have your character artist working, and they will take this, oops, this little character box, and then basically crop the canvas to about that size. Wait. Trim. Okay. And then they can draw like the player character within this box so that when you import it into Unity, it looks about right. is a little, your little player. Nice. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So about exporting and formatting your files. Make sure you export in PNGs. PNGs are awesome. JPEGs are kind of like a no-no because JPEGs will like slap on like a white background if your backgrounds are transparent. And you'll just have like, everything will have like a white background around it if you, in your game. So yeah, PNGs, they also don't compress your image, which is really nice. So you won't get like any like weird artifacting, pixeling on your images. And then generally you want to crop to the edge of your artwork. So you can see I've got these like four assets here at the bottom. And I've cropped it pretty close to the edges. You don't want to have like big empty space on the side, so that way, can anybody guess why you don't want like weird cropped images in your file? Yeah.
Because then it's like a rich
Yeah. What's up?
How do you export, like, if I have my canvas and I draw something but it's way smaller than the canvas, how would I crop it once I export it?
Yeah, you can do it multiple ways. Something that I like to do, for the recording, the question was how to crop the assets if you're doing it on one big canvas. So something that I like to do is you can either export the whole like big image that you've got. So I could do, let me move this so you can see the layers. So like, let's say you were working on this big canvas for your little player character. You could either save it, save this file. Sorry, let me, okay, I guess I will just export it here. You can say player, file type, PNG. And then now that you have your PNG, this is only the PNG file that I have open, right? So now that I have that, I can crop it, trim by selection, and then save that again. Yes. So that when I open up the original like PSD file with everything in it, that's still saved. And your player is a separate file, if that makes sense. Another thing you can do is you can make all your art assets in separate files instead of that one big canvas. But yeah, I hope that kind of made sense, right? Yeah, well, so I changed it to PNG. I saved it as a PNG because PSD is the Photoshop file, right? That's the one with all the layers. PNG is like a flat image, so it doesn't have layers. Okay, so I can save this as the, you can say block out, and this would be our PSD, the one with everything in it. So this one will preserve all these layers. So here I can close this, open up the block out, and you can see all the layers are still there. If I open up the player.png, you'll see I only have that one layer in there. So it only has, it doesn't have any layer properties, the .png file. Yeah, just make sure that you have like a PSD file, or if you're using Procreate, it's like a Procreate file, or if you have, I don't know if CSP, like Clip Studio Paint has their own file names, but just make sure you have a layer that has, or a file that supports layers for your art, and then you export it as a PNG so that you don't have, so you still have like the original layers, and you can go back in and edit it easily. The PNG is just for Unity and for saving file space and things like that, because PSD Photoshop files can take up a lot of space very quickly. I hope that cleared things up. Okay. Okay. So, all right, exporting animations are a little bit different. You can see here I've got an example of this little funny like shoveling character, right? For example, like you can see even in the first frame, like I have some empty space here. I've got empty space underneath its feet for these next two frames. But that's because the body should be centered on the canvas, even if they're jumping, because the movement of the sprite will be done in Unity. So all you programmers will be like programming this like white box, like moving throughout Unity, and all like your jumps will be programmed and the white box will move. So that's why the art asset shouldn't move outside of that box, because that hitbox is like contained to the Unity white box, right? Some things that you should note though is that your little canvas size for each frame should be the same. So all these boxes are consistent width and height. And what else? These animations can be exported as multiple PNGs. Usually that's pretty easy. Or if you have like a special like script to export your animations, you can make it a Sprite Sheet. So that puts like all the PNGs into one PNG. They just like, they look like this. They're put in like rows and columns. But you can also do multiple and it's easier. Yes, and so this animation can look like this in game. Okay. Nice, he can jump. So this is kind of what a Sprite Sheet might look like. I have it organized by different animations per row, and then per column is like the next frame in the animation. And you can see like there is that like consistent like width and height of each frame throughout the entire Sprite Sheet. This will make importing into Unity a lot easier, because you can just, when you import the image, you just slice image, bam, 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 by column, by row, and then you can have like little individual sprites. You don't have to worry about any of this if you're just exporting each frame as an individual PNG. Just make sure that your file naming convention makes sense. So don't do like jump, like key smash or whatever for like your multiple frames. Be like jump 1, jump 2, jump 3, jump 4, jump 5, right? All right. Some general tips when you're making animations. Don't go too ham. If this is like your first time animating, you will learn that 2-frame animations are great. They convey so much information, and it's a lot easier to do. So low frame counts make the game feel responsive because the movement is happening really fast. And smears are a great way for reducing frames. So, okay, so here's an example of 2-frame animations. The punch and the kick are just 2 frames, but they look really nice and speedy, right? The moment you press that key, he punches, right? That's always nice. That play, like instant feedback for the player is always really nice. So this is what the frames look like for this animation. You can see there's quite a bit of stretch. This little frog's body is like a lot longer than it is when he's idling. I've implemented some like little VFX here with this like I guess like motion trail of color. He's like sweat like flies off, right? And then the same with the kick, right? And then later on in the semester, I'm gonna do a game animation workshop, so I'll go more into detail about these sorts of things. Okay. I kind of talked about this earlier, but just like try and make your art look cohesive, especially if you're working with other artists. So some things y'all can talk about is style, color palettes, the line width that you use, your brush that you use, image dimensions that was covered with like the white boxing, right? And make sure that there's pretty clear contrast between players and the background. So if you're a background artist, don't go too ham with colors unless your player is like white or black. Just like keep contrast in mind. And if you're new to art, games with simple shapes can still look really good. So this is a game by one of our officers, Matt. He made Substring. It looks amazing. You can see it's like monochromatic color schemes. So like the color choice is really nice. But like artistically, it's pretty simple. Like the player is like a triangle, right? And everything else are just like blobs, right? So keep that in mind if you are a programmer and you want to make games on your own, or if you don't have an artist on your team, you can make things like this. Here's another example of just like, if you have nice colors, your game can have like very simple graphics, and it can still look good. More on color schemes, keep them cohesive. There are like color palette websites out there if you are not the best at color theory, and they can like generate color palettes for you. You just like press a button, it's like bam, here's a color scheme. Yeah, okay. So if you're an artist, you have some choices on how you can implement the art into your game. For the first couple of game jams that I did not touch Unity at all. I didn't touch GitHub at all. I kind of just like, here, programmer, put this in the game, and they put it in the game, which is very nice. You won't always have like that sort of luxury to just like make your silly little doodles and have fun making art. But that is something that is an option. You can just like upload your files to Google Drive or send them through Discord. Just like talk with your programmer. Make sure somebody can implement it for you. But if you do want to work with GitHub, which Ryan talked about earlier today, then you can sort of decide if you want to get your hands dirty with Unity. If you don't, you can just like use GitHub to upload your artwork to the repository, and somebody else can use Unity and fit it all in there for you. If you do want to use Unity, that's fun. I like it. It's a really good learning experience, especially if you want to make games on your own later down the line. So let me, okay. Let's actually use this project that Ryan's slowly been adding game objects to over the past week or so. Okay, so you can see that we have this player game object. I think this is what what was it? Yeah, this had like the little Mega Man sprite or whatever. I'm gonna actually order in there. Okay. So if you're programmer has, let's say this is like their temporary art set up in the project, and you want to replace it with your player.png that you made earlier. We can, wait, let me. Okay, so we have our file explorer open to the folder that we saved our player.png to. And what we can do is something that is like super useful is you can actually just like, where is it? Rename TAOMA. If you name it exactly the same thing as the art asset that's in your Unity file already, you drag it in. Bam. Oh wait, made a copy. Here. Let me do this again. Okay, you right click in your assets folder, show in Explorer. So it opens up your file explorer to that location on your computer. So you can see I've got like the same blue sky with clouds wallpaper and the little pixel sprite. So if I rename this file and I drag it in, it'll say this destination already has this file named the same exact thing. If you replace it, all right, you go back to your Unity project, bam, it replaces it in the project, which is really helpful. If that is, if you're just like working on a asset that doesn't have any temporary art for it, you can, oh, hold on. Here, we can export the platform that we made in our blockout. So I'm gonna take this, select it, and then trim. I will save this as platform. File type PNG. Okay. We see it back in this folder, platform. You can drag it into your assets. Ideally, you would have a folder in here. Let's make a folder. You'll have art assets. You can drag all your PNGs in there. All right, so in the Unity inspector, you'll see all these things that might be a little overwhelming, but you really only like touch like 5 things, right? So it'll have this option for texture type. Usually you'll just do Sprite 2D and UI. It's very rare that you will select anything other than this. And then Sprite Mode single. This is asking if you have, like, for example, a Sprite Sheet. So if you had a Sprite Sheet, you would select multiple. In this case, we just have one sprite in this PNG. And then that's it. So if you made any changes, you would hit apply. In this case, I didn't. If you want your image to be super crisp and it's not, you can change the filter mode to point. And maybe that might make a change that's notable. In this case, we just have like a green square, so nothing much is different. Let me change the order there. Okay. Let me see if I can give you an example of what this looks like with a Sprite Sheet. Let's see. Okay, if you just like Google Sprite Sheet, you'll have all these things that people have ripped from games. Let's see. I want to find one that is graded up well. We'll take these Mega Man sprites. I'm gonna save it directly into the assets, into the art assets folder on my computer. We'll call this player animations.png. Save. Okay. Then you'll find it in your Unity project. Here we go. Texture type, sprite. Sprite mode, in this case, we have multiple because it's a sprite sheet. You'll go into your sprite editor, apply, and you'll find a window that looks like this. And you want to slice this image, and slicing basically takes one PNG and cuts it up into multiple PNGs into your Unity project. So we'll see what automatic does. I usually just like, oh, that is not good. You want consistent borders on these because the center of the player will be different, but we'll do cell count. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, got 10 across and 7 down. Slice. Okay. And you'll see now that we have all these lovely little squares and grids and everything across our image. And it has been, you press apply. And then what you'll find in Unity, if you press this little arrow, all these little character animation frames have been split apart by Unity, which is very handy. Oh, yeah. Okay, so what I have used in the past is there's a script that you can download for, if you use, do you use Photoshop? Krita? Okay. If you're using Krita, this is kind of like a jank like workaround, but you can export that animation as a GIF and then use like easygif.com. And you I think it's here, split GIF to Sprite Sheet. So you take your GIF, upload it to this website, and you can make it into a Sprite Sheet. The only caveat is that exporting it as a GIF will definitely compress your file because GIFs otherwise, like, they only have a certain number of colors that it can process, right? It does not, no. Adobe licenses are like slightly cheaper with a student discount, but there are also other ways to get Photoshop. So
One of the other ways.
yeah. The other option is like if you notice that there's like too much compression on your animation, if you're converting it to a GIF and then using the Sprite Sheet converter, you can just like export each frame as a PNG and upload it into, yes.
I think for some animation stuff, you can export it as a image sequence. It's automatically like,
Oh, yeah. I think Photoshop has that. I know that for sure. I'm pretty sure Krita will do that too. That way you don't have to like select each frame in your animation and then Control S, like save as PNG. It'll do it for you, right? Yeah. So that's something that you'll do in your drawing program as you animate. If your drawing program has like an animation feature, you can have like different frames, right? You like can toggle through it and play back the animation. I usually just like eyeball it. What also helps is like drawing like a ground line, so I know like the player's feet are always at a consistent like line in the canvas, if that makes sense. But yeah, just eyeballing it is good enough because in Unity, the player's going to be like running around and moving. So if it's like 5 pixels off, it's not going to be like a huge deal. So it depends on the project, but I always start off with, as I showed before, like the blockout. I have it 1920 by 1080, which is like standard computer screen sizes. And then from there, this is like something that you can talk with your team about, but you can estimate different sizes for different sprites. So in this example, I have the player this size, and the player size will change depending on what kind of game you make. If you want like your players like facial expressions to be a big part of the game, then you probably make them bigger, right? So in this case, the player sprite is, let's see, like this very arbitrary like 174 by 168 pixels, but that varies per game. And especially if you're doing things like pixel art, it could be like, you can have something that's like 32 pixels by 32 pixels versus something that's a bit more high res like this one. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so now that you have like your player sprite all like separated, then you can make an animation for it. Let me check my presentation and see if I haven't skipped over anything. Oops. Okay. Okay, this is also something that's pretty important to note, is that you can edit your art assets. So in this example, you can see you can like, take this art asset from your Unity project, bring it into your art program of choice. And this is effectively like dragging an image file from your file explorer into your art program, right? And then once you save it, it will update within Unity. And that's the same thing as like taking your file, your image file that you named the same exact thing that's already in your Unity project, and then replacing that file. Same thing. You're just saving over something else. Nice. Nice. Okay. Okay. think. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Unity Animator. So, very briefly, I'm gonna just like very quickly do an example of how you would create the animation in Unity. So right now you just have like all these different like PNGs in Unity of the frames of your animation. And now you actually want to put them together. Tell Unity which of these PNGs to put together for, let's say, a run animation. So you right click in Assets, Create, and then there'll be this animation. You can call this, we'll call this player run. And you'll have this window pop up that's like a timeline. You'll have like these like the seconds at the top. And you'll notice it's empty. So we can insert, oh, if I can. Just gonna put it down here. You can select the frames for your animation that are that go for this animation. Drag them. Oh, hold on. I have to add component. And then we do this. Ooh, animation clip. Player run. Okay. Create. Great. I will drag these in. Okay, and then you can see these are like these little diamonds are the keyframes. So if you zoom in, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Clear. This is actually, okay. So if I preview, okay. It's not working. But if it did work, and I can troubleshoot this later, you would see your game object here changing with the different frames of your animation. But yeah, I don't want to go all the way to 8, but if y'all have any questions, I feel like I kind of just like rambled for a bit at the end. All right, then I have some resources and stuff at the end of this these slides. So if y'all want to check these out, I'll be posting this presentation to the Discord. But otherwise, oh yes. I believe we'll be doing the team matching tomorrow, and you might hear back either Thursday or Friday. Yeah, Friday. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
In general, is it better to resize your sprite if you like do it a little bit? You think it's too big? Is it better to resize it in Unity or?
In Unity, it will preserve as like your pixel dimensions, if that makes sense. If you resize it in your art program, it'll like do what's called like anti-aliasing and add like extra pixels to your line art and stuff. So probably better to do it in Unity, yeah. If anybody has questions about like the game jam, I'm happy to answer them too. But thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Okay. Okay, I will be closing the Zoom now, but thanks for coming. That'll be the end of the recording. Bye.